for inviting me to the first Capturing Christianity conference, and Trent Horn for agreeing to have this debate with me on such short notice. I'm looking forward to some exciting and engaging exchanges, and with any luck, we might just be able to resolve some deep disagreements. The focus of my case will center around the concepts of evidence and probability. I will present at least one argument from experience and two arguments that are a priori against Trent's particular classical theist view. But much of what I say will also apply to theism more broadly. I have a good deal to cover, so let's get started. Before I get to my arguments, though, I need to characterize some concepts. I will be defending naturalism, understood as the hypothesis the universe is self-contained or causally closed, such that there are no supernatural causes. Natural reality exhausts causal reality. This conception entails the universe is indifferent towards the nature and condition of sentient life. What I'll call perfect being theism, or sometimes theism for short, is the view there is a perfect and personal being who is the omnipotent, omniscient, and morally perfect creator of the universe. Trent is also a classical theist, so I will understand classical theism as entailing perfect being theism and making at least 4 additional distinctive claims about the nature of God. God is simple, immutable, timeless, and impassible.
Anything you guys want to say here, like with Ben's like opening like clarifications and kind of getting things set up for his little speech?
Not too much, although I know Tim, at least his definition of naturalism is he borrows that from Paul Draper, and there is, I guess, one little issue with regards to that, which is I think that if you want to talk about naturalism, you're going to have to put it into like 2 categories. So either you have a sort of priority monism or a priority pluralism. And we'll get more into that with the priors, but that's just the first thing I want to point out, that I guess the way that naturalism is defined here is not really like, I don't know, it's not metaphysical enough for me. For me, when I think of naturalism, I think of either priority monism or a priority pluralist view, right? So it has really nothing to do with causal closure. It has nothing really to do with, whether I guess indifference would be a part of it. Definitely. I'll grant that indifference is a part of naturalism, but at least the way initially that he sets it up is, I would probably not define naturalism in that sort of way, but I mean, it is what it is. He's borrowing from Paul Draper. So I don't know, Tim, what, because that's just my first sort of, caution there.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it's a specific enough or articulated enough view to be able to be assessed in a way that we would want to make our assessments. And of course, that's going to be tailored for when we get on in the video to the modesty portions of things of that sort. But yeah, if you are, bottom line, like naturalism only falls into 2 camps, either, or 2 categories of fundamentality, which would be priority monism or priority pluralism. And so either of those views, they have their own distinctions that are relevant enough, because those relevant distinctions is what allows us to assess them as the actual theory. So I would assess pluralism this way, I would assess monism a different way, and whatnot. And so there are some distinctions that need to be brought out a little bit more for there to be a kind of a robust assessment. But I think as Ben kind of goes on and talks, I think that we can kind of at least see what his view is, which camp it falls into. But yeah, I agree with Kyle that I think that the clearest way to put it is either monism or pluralism.
Yeah, and then I guess the same sort of thing with classical theism. I guess I just clarify that I consider myself classical theist, but I wouldn't hold to Trent's view, right? And this will be more relevant later on, much later in the video, where we get into the incoherencies. But like, Trent Horn's view on classical theism is not like the only view of classical theism. It's one specific version of classical theism that I don't think classical theists really are required to hold to, right? Again, we'll get more to that later, but that's another thing I want to point out, that at least the version of theism that Ben is going to go after later in the video is not the view that I would hold to. So I don't know, maybe I'll grant him at least those points later on. We'll see. But that's another thing, I guess, is that classical theism is not just Trent Horn's view of classical theism.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Right.